Hi guys, this is Dr. Aeronautics, and today I will be showing you the moon, flied to there by the XR-2 Ravenstar. And this is I believe this is the Angel White skin, but I'm not 100% sure. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I actually haven't done any math yet, which is a little bit interesting, so this will kind of be as we go, but I have to only do minimal math because the ship mass is output for me, so I don't have to calculate it. So, as for the amount of videos recently, I'm going to turn the APU on to close the airlocks now. I haven't been doing many videos recently, and that is because I've been incredibly busy with both work and finals. So I think it's been like 2 weeks since my last video. But summer break's coming up soon. So then I hope to get to be between 3 and 4 videos per week out. Right now, to update you guys on the Norriston Lantaniso series, we've just completed the Transcontinental Railroad, and I'm working on something to take care of the rest of the railroads much faster. Most likely a new technology brought about by tweaking a config code. Okay. Gonna go ahead and turn the APU off. We're done with it for now. The cabin hatch is still open. That's just because we want the fresh atmosphere to go through it. And the next thing we need to do is figure out when to take off. And you should know by now. If you don't know, in my last tutorial where we went to the moon in the stock Delta glider, you should watch that. But what we basically have to do is wait until the orbital plane of the moon passes through, and this isn't the moon, this is the ISS. We have to wait for the orbital plane of the moon to pass through the Kennedy Space Center, and then we launch into the plane from there. Let's see. Right there. Of course, it's the top. So we're going to target the moon. And doesn't look like this is the perfect season, so what we're going to have to do is wait until the plane rotates over to where we are, or rather we rotate into the plane, and then from there we take off due east. So that'll be late afternoon. And as you noticed, I've changed the date. This is more around the time when most people will be watching the video. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward to 1,000 times the normal rate. And we've gone back to 100 now. Launch will be very soon. Okay, so now what we do is go ahead and configure the rest of our systems. Including the orbit MFD to where I like it. And for the planar alignment, we're going to choose the moon. So that we can keep an eye on the inclination there. Okay, so now although I could have, instead of using the configuration code to change the ISP of the engines so that we can go further with them, instead I'm actually going to attach a external fuel tank in the bay, which will carry more fuel. Now, theoretically, I wouldn't need it, but just in case, and because of the plane change burn, we're going to go ahead and attach it. So we're going to open up the payload editor cheat and go ahead and order a main fuel, which should fit in bay 2 or 3. I'm going to put it into bay 2. So there we go, and it's just appeared locked and loaded. We can close the payload editor now. So here it gives information about the entire thing. In here, we have, I think, about 2,000 kilograms of usable fuel. This is the full mass. I don't know exactly how much usable fuel, but we can figure that out when we go back to the overhead panel. So that's it. We're going to go ahead and close the bay doors. And if we go to the upper panel and then back to the normal panel, you can now see there's an area in between here that is turned a light green color. And this basically tells us that this light green is representing fuel that we have in store in the external tank. And you can see this value here has changed. So we have plenty more fuel now. I'm going to go ahead and go to the Fahrenheit temperature scale and prepare for takeoff. So we can go ahead and turn the APU off. Okay, so you can see here the coolant is open. We're going to go ahead and refuel the APU.
Fuel hatch open. Refueling systems online.
Also, you'll notice I have 196 days of oxygen. The reason this is not because I tweaked the configuration file, but because there's only one crew member. So apparently 7 times 14 is 196. So now we'll refill the APU fuel.
APU fuel tanks full.
All set, we can bring the fuel systems offline.
Refueling systems offline.
Okay. All that's left now is to wait for the plane to rotate into completely into where we are. So we're going to go to 10 times the normal rate, 100 times the normal rate. Okay, that's just about it there. We're going to take off now. So I've gone to normal time again. Next thing we're going to do is begin turning on the HUDs. So we're going to change this to the red, which is preferred in the atmosphere. Turn on the secondary with all of the atmospheric readouts, and the tertiary with the status updates in that horrible green color. As I give a check, everything here looks good. All we have to do now is disable the external cooling, shut the cabin hatch, and enable the APU fuel and air flight control services. So we're ready to do that now. Starting the APU, closing the cabin hatch. Okay, we have confirmation that the cabin hatch is closed. I'm going to turn our lights on now. And we're going to turn the air flight control surfaces on.
Pitch on.
Give us a little bit of upward elevator trim for takeoff. A little bit more since we're carrying excess weight in the form of fuel tank. We're about 83,000 pounds. We typically get 100,000, upwards of about 100,000 pounds when you pack the payload bay just about full of everything. And we're now going to disconnect the external cooling lines.
Using onboard O2.
And we'll just do a re-entry
Warning,
check.
re-entry check failed.
And that's basically just told me that the landing gear is down. I did that so that I know we're ready to take off, and we will now. Okay, Last thing is to change the map to the way we like it. And in this case, because of where the moon is now, we launch due east, applying full power in 3, 2, 1, now.
100 knots. V1. Rotate. Lift off.
Throttling back.
Gear up. Gear up and locked.
We're turning east now into the plane. So, to note, we're going over the vehicle assembly building now. You can actually see our shadow passing over the buildings. Again, as we gain altitude, I'm going to begin zooming out of the map. Okay, so there's 90 degrees. We're now going to full power and pitching up to 30 degrees. Through the sound barrier. And the cloud layer, for that matter. We are waiting on about 80,000 feet and about Mach 2.5, at which point we will engage the scram engines. As you can see now, we burn fuel very quickly in the beginning phases of flight. We've almost burned through our external tank. Okay, we're coming up on 80,000 feet. I'm going to begin leveling off. Cutting the engines now because we are drifting quickly up. We've just gone through 100,000 feet, so I'm going to take my time now and go ahead and open the scram doors now and throttle up. The scram engines do not have yet enough power to accelerate the ship by itself, so I'll need to assist it with a little bit of engine power. In just about a couple seconds, you'll hear a low-pitched beep indicating that our bay tanks are empty, and you will see it here. So applying that power now to help with the acceleration. There it goes. So the bay tank is now empty.
Mach 3.
So we're losing a little bit of altitude now, but that's normal if you've done what I did, which is drift high out of the atmosphere. So we basically have to gain that energy back in order for our scram engines to start working. We should be at about 20 kilopascals worth of dynamic pressure. now we are being pitched up again, as expected.
Mach 4.
So we have coasted back down to 85,000 feet, but we're climbing again. And the dynamic pressure is going through the roof again, which means it's time to start pitching up. We also need to keep an eye on our acceleration. We're at about almost 2 Gs now. I'm going to go ahead and change this to the preferred ascent version here. Okay, we are getting a little bit hot, so I'm going to begin pitching up higher.
Mach 6. Mach 7.
Okay, we're back on track now. I'm going to go ahead and stabilize the pitch so that the air will continue feeding the scram engines.
Mach 8.
Check down here, our coolant temperatures are still doing fine. I'm going to go ahead and look and see how our orbit is progressing now. We'll be seeing sunset in a couple minutes. We're right on dynamic pressure schedule for optimum efficiency, which is good. You can see now our scramjet temperatures are beginning to take off. We're undergoing about 2.5 Gs of acceleration right now.
Mach 11. Mach 12. Mach 13. Mach 14.
Start pitching up now. We're going to aim to get the dynamic pressure down to about 4
Mach
kilopascal.
15. Mach 16. Mach 17. Mach 18.
Okay, just passed through 4, which is exactly where we want to be.
Mach 19.
Our scram reserves are getting very low, but that's okay because we're going to the moon. We actually don't want any excess fuel because it actually helps the flight.
Warning, scram fuel
Mach
low.
20.
So we've just gotten a warning that we're going to run out of scram fuel soon, and that's okay because, well, just about good timing. We've so timed it.
Information.
So now we have
APU
to
fuel
shut down.
90%.
Sorry, that was my timer. So we've just gotten a status call out Mach 21. Just perfect timing. We have to shut down because of temperature and we're about to run out of fuel. So now we must close the scram doors or else we will burn. And the call out Mach 21, so we're getting close. going
Pitch.
to switch to pitch and
Rotation.
and continue burning.
Mach 22.
So we're going to
Mach
continue
23.
burning until we reach a stable orbit.
Mach 24.
So you can see how our scram engines are basically empty, which
Mach
is good.
25.
Because again, we're going to the moon. There's no air, so there's no reason why we would want the scram engines. Okay, we're coming up to orbital insertion,
26.
so I'll prepare to throttle back. There is 200 kilometers, 300, and main engine cutoff. So we're going to continue drifting up like this. And now we can go to the orbit secondary.
Off.
Turn off the air flight control services. Change to the orbit HUD. And we're going to go ahead and turn prograde now. We're beneath 0.5 dynamic pressure, right in kilopascal, which is low enough for me to feel comfortable opening the radiator. See, our temperature is about to hit 44 degrees, but the radiator opening will prevent that from happening. So there we go, radiator is deployed and we're losing temperature.
Mach 27 plus.
So it's taken us 12 and a half minutes from application of main power to reach orbit, which is fast. It's not quite as fast as the space shuttle, though. Okay, we're ready to disconnect the external power unit. Or, I'm sorry, the auxiliary power unit, as it's called. Okay, we're in a stable orbit configuration now, except for when we come back down into the atmosphere there, but we're not going to worry about that for now. So the next thing we have to worry about is a plane change. So we're going to go ahead and check out the aligned planes multifunctional display and find that we have a descending node burn, I got the things backwards, coming up relatively soon, and that looks like Mars. It is Mars. So sunset will be appearing, or rather, will be occurring soon. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and what are we actually going to do? It was important, but for some reason I can't think of it right. Oh, yes. We're going to restart the external power unit, and because this is partially legal, and because I don't care, we're going to jettison the now empty external module. And what we're going to do is lose about 355 kilograms, which is going to help our engines when we have to do the escape burn. So we're going to go ahead and jettison this, but in order for us to do this, we need to kill all of our angular velocity so that we don't hit anything. And something tells me that something is on. We're undergoing a little bit of upward torque, and I do not know at this time what is causing that.
Hover doors are closed.
Yeah, I didn't think they were on. Okay. Well, as long as the kill rotation works...
Information. APU running.
Well, it's going to have a load soon. Okay, so all we have to do is highlight the slot, and I like it to move relatively quickly away from the craft, but not so quickly because Newton's third law does apply. We will get contorted when we do that. And so now it's going to move at 30 centimeters per second. We're ready, so we're going to hit the deploy button and we'll lose about 355 kilograms of mass. Jettisoning in 2, 1, now.
Payload deployed.
So there it goes. And there we go. Because remember, it's going up, but we're going down about as proportionally opposite to its mass.
Information. APU running.
Wow. Okay. So I just did a little bit of an emergency move there. Something really weird is going on, and I have to figure it out. So basically what happened was we jettisoned that, and we kind of drifted forward for some reason. I don't know why that is. But in real life, if that would have struck the radiator, we would have to abort the mission, and well, without the radiator, we basically have to land. Okay, let's close the payload bay doors now and figure out what's causing that. Oh, well, we are still relatively low. It might actually be the atmospheric drag. Yes, 110 kilometers is quite low, actually. I probably should have waited a little bit longer to jettison that. But all is fine. So we're going to go to 10 times the normal rate now as we wait for this burn, which will be about 1 minute.
APU running.
Whoops. That is a huge no-no. I forgot to shut down the APU. See, now because of that, we're almost down to 80%. You can never forget to shut down your APU. Now, if I wanted to know which planet that is, I would have to look at the constellation. Knowing by the albedo, it has to be... Oh boy. Where is my mind? I'm almost getting carried away here. So we're going to go ahead and hold orbit minus. and prepare for the descending node burn. And the next thing that's going to happen to me is I'm going to forget. It's it's been too long. I'm getting rusty, which is really bad. I was going to say the next bad thing to happen to me is that I'm going to forget and get backwards, and this always happens to me. I get mixed up which way you burn, and the reason being is because I can't remember if the descending node you burn orbit plus to increase inclination to land at a base, or to decrease inclination to enter into the ecliptic. And apparently, it's to decrease inclination. And I have to make up a rhyme to do that, or something that will help me, because
Translation.
because that was an enormous waste of fuel. Well, when I say enormous, enormously stupid waste of fuel. Not really that bad when it comes to the amount of fuel that was spent doing it. And because of that, we're also not going to be able to get our inclination all the way down to 0, but that's okay. We can do a little bit of course correcting later. Okay, so 0.22 is not too bad for now, but it is the moon, so we do need to correct it later. Okay. So, we're free now to do what we want until the apogee. So, as I was saying, this knowing by the albedo is either Jupiter or Saturn, and because I know Jupiter is behind Orion right now, and Orion is on the other side because I know this constellation is Scorpius, I know that naturally this has to be Saturn. So by knowing this sort of information, and see, here is Orion, which means Jupiter should be right over here. Or is it the other way? Okay, there it is. Oh, wow. Oh, that's that 23.5 degree inclination. Okay. So we're going to go to... Actually, where is the moon right now? It's kind of on the other side. Let's begin plotting a flight path. So we're going to go ahead and use the transfer. I'm going to hold this down for ages and ages. So I'm going to pause the video. Okay, so neat, interesting fact. Right now we are exactly on the opposite side of the Earth that we want to be doing the burn on. So we're going to go ahead and change the ejection time here around to meet the moon. And that looks like a keeper. So recall, the green line represents me and my orbit. The green circle, which you cannot see, represents my orbit. The yellow circle, that of the moon. The yellow bar represents the location of the moon within its orbit, and the gray line where we intersect the moon's orbit, and the gold dashed line where the moon will be when we intersect this orbit. So all three of those converge now. So we're set to burn in this time, which I need to now calculate as to how long that will be for us. So I'm going to go ahead and go into 10 times the normal rate while I do this calculation. Oh, shoot. I forgot to write down what the what the ISP or the raw engine power is. Okay, so from my math, it looks like we need to burn 96 seconds before DTE. So we're going to go to 100 times the normal rate to avoid making the video too long. Back to 10 times the normal rate. And here it comes. So, oh man, I did it again.
Rotation.
There's burn time. Okay, so here's what happened. Again, I mixed up the time. Instead of 96 seconds, I thought it was 66 seconds. So, yeah, I think I'm out of it today for some reason. So I'm just looking for the direction that what do you call that thing again? The periapsis is at. We've just gone through it, so we're going to go ahead and burn right here. Okay, we're coming up on the amount that we were supposed to burn here. There we go. Main engine cutoff, and we're now in an incredibly high elliptical orbit, which should take us all the way out to the moon. So the only thing that's left to fix is the relative inclination, and we should be able to do that with the aligned planes. Now it's going a little bit crazy here for some reason, but that's okay. We can still do the planar alignment. You just have to know where it is. Okay, so that was our ejection burn now. So we have to give a check over all of our systems. Where are we now? We've just gone through 420 kilometers. For the sake of conserving energy and for realism, we're going to turn all of our lights off now. There's no reason why we would need lights when we're moving at 10 plus kilometers per second at 420 kilometers. And we're going to the moon. Oh wow, look, Andromeda. That was interesting. The radiator is out. Coolant temperatures are falling. The APU is off. We still have a good amount of fuel, which is great. The scram engines are empty, which is fine. We still have enough APU fuel. Everything checks out. So we're going to begin accelerating time. Oh, and here's the final sunrise, and Mercury is actually right there. Where are we? Darwin. Ah, Australia. Okay. So we're over the southeastern Indian Ocean now. So we're going to 10 times the normal rate now. And I need to keep an eye on where the node is. Oh shoot, I got Darwin mixed up with Perth. So not southwestern Australia, northwestern Australia. Or, yeah. Because Perth is down there. So then this is the eastern end. Queensland, I know, is down there. I forget what this area is. I don't think I've shown Australia in detail like this before. And Indonesia is also visible. Where's Jawa? That may have already gone over the horizon. But we're now drifting high above the Pacific Ocean, which is a really great place to leave the Earth. It is exactly what the Earth is. A giant blue ball in the emptiness of space. So this is actually a really great... that's a photo op right there. And that is... looks like Japan again. We're now at an altitude of... how high are we? 4,500 kilometers. And there's Hawaii, which means yeah, New Zealand is almost underneath. Yeah, it's below the cloud deck, so you can't really see it. So you can see Fiji as well, and in various islands of the Pacific. Somewhere along here, yeah, can start to see Kamchatka's coming into view. The Aleutian Islands, I believe, are right here. Or, well, judging by these names, these are not Aleutian Islands yet. Although they should be. Yes, they have to be, because that's known. Yeah, so this is probably the Aleutian Islands here. And now North America might come into view, but keep in mind now, as we move, the Earth will start rotating. Alright, so I'm going to start moving time faster now. We're going to go up to 100 times the normal rate. For the sake of keeping the video short. And there is Western North America there. What a photo op. So now the entire Earth has come into view. Around, yes, the entire sphere. So if you have a 22-inch monitor, and you too were at, oh, what is this? 22,000 kilometers. This is exactly the size that the Earth would look like from that altitude. And it looks fantastic to me. So we're spinning around now, so I'm going to go ahead and let us see that from the inside. I believe the Earth is occultating Saturn right now, or oculating. I forget what the exact word is. But Saturn, I believe, right now is actually behind the Earth. So that was a great last view of the Earth. So let's turn prograde. Give us a few seconds to stabilize. Deactivate the autopilot. Go to 100 times the normal rate. All the systems check out. We still have 196 days of oxygen. 1,000 times the normal rate. Where is the... there it is. The moon is actually relatively new, which means the near side is dark. And I believe that's where Brighton Beach is. Also, this time I have to beware its high latitude. The other thing I'm going to do now is fix the relative inclination. The time to do that is coming up soon. So I'm going to go ahead and sit here for a while. Go back up to 1,000 times the normal rate. And we're not actually going to bring it down to 0. We're only going to bring it down to 0.01 because of the inclination, or yeah, the inclination latitude. Excuse me. The inclination latitude thing. Okay. So we're about 1/3 of the way out now. One of the great things about going to the moon when it's a new moon, which means there's a full Earth, because it's inverted. There it is, the full Earth, and we're actually looking at Asia, Europe, and Africa right now. Going back to 1,000 times the normal rate. And we're going to go ahead and pause here for the plane change. And this will be a relatively quick one because we only have about 30 degrees, and well, the Earth's gravity field is incredibly weak right now. So I'm actually going to try with translation first. Yes, and I am actually going to do the entire burn on translation alone. There we go. That's just about where I want to be.
Rotation.
So if I wanted to be really conservative, I could have decided actually that I wouldn't rotate, and I could have just done it with the translation facing this orientation. It's going to turn prograde, wait for the stabilization to happen. We're on 10x, by the way. And the moon is there. You can't see it, and you won't see it for a long time. Oh, wow. That is a fantastic view of Africa and the South Atlantic. Okay, 1,000 times the normal rate. Yeah. So now you can see the Earth rotating under us, which is fantastic to see. So unfortunately for the Apollo astronauts, they never got this joy of being able to see a full Earth because all of their expeditions were limited to the near side of the moon. And in order to be on the near side of the moon, you needed it to be day so that the solar energy could work and it didn't get deathly cold like it does at night on the moon. So the best it ever got for them was a half Earth, or a quarter Earth when talking about moon phases, or in this case, Earth phases. Because right now it seems to have gone down to a gibbous phase. We're about 2/3 of the way to the moon now. Aha. And the sun is now gravitationally more dominant than the Earth. But that doesn't mean that we're necessarily orbiting the sun, because we're orbiting the Earth, and the change in velocity is not great enough for the sun to really yank the moon away, which is why we're still in orbit around it, even though we're not yet out to the moon. The blue marble. You could not have a better definition. Okay, we need to start focusing on the moon for approach. Let's go ahead and bring up the map of the moon. And we're going to target Brighton Beach. Let's also keep an eye on our transfer and, oh, hang on now. Display my orbit. Why won't you display my orbit? Well, we could do TransX, but I don't like using TransX for only Earth flight. So back to 1,000 times the normal rate. So I'm just going to use my wits alone and say that we're probably going to get gravitationally captured by the moon. And when I say probably, I'm, at least in my mind, I'm certain. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. But I think there was something wrong when I was configuring the transfer MFD. It usually keeps the transfer page loaded, but it for some reason updated when I started burning. We should be nearing gravitational capture soon. Yes, this looks really good for approach. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say it's going to happen now. I can tell the direction it's going relative to us. We are going to be able to get captured. So yeah, I thought everything was right, but for some reason the transfer MFD was acting a bit glitchy, so I wasn't sure. Make sure this is set to ground track. Okay. Coming up on the approach phase. Back to the normal rate, and I actually remembered, I got some comments about efficiency last time when I was going to Mars during mid-course correction. And that I was wasting fuel by burning at 180 degrees retrograde instead of outward. And that's true. It's much more fuel efficient if you burn outward. However, when I was approaching Mars, I forgot about it at the time I responded to the comments. But I think what I was trying to do was to actually burn retrograde so that I wouldn't have to burn as much when I got down to the paramar, whatever, periapsis of Martian orbit. So I think what I was trying to do to explain to everyone was to try and minimize the amount of single burn time that I would have to spend there. But I'm going to go ahead and burn outward now. And for some reason I've been getting this mixed up as well. But this gives a good demonstration of the retro engines. So we're going to turn the APU on. Open up the retrograde engines. And we're going to go ahead and shut the APU down. We can keep them open. But by the way, here are the retrograde engines in sunlight. So you can now see them quite well. So we're going to begin burning. That's fine right there. I can also see our inclination there, and this gives me the perfect opportunity to change the inclination with the moon. And I'm going to do that right now as well. So now I won't have that same problem I had earlier. And unfortunately, we're at a bad place again.
Translation.
But at least we're quite far out from the moon, so that doing so will be rather cheap. Okay, we're gonna turn, oops.
Rotation.
We're gonna turn Orbit Plus. And I need to make a habit of thinking about these things more before I actually act on impulse, because I'm getting too used to it, which is a problem because I'm also getting rusty again, which can get really dangerous if you got used to doing things on impulse. Keep the efficiency up, I have to match this cross as it moves across. Ha. Double meaning. Okay. That's it. And what a... see how much of a more of an efficient burn that was? I maybe wasted 0.5% of fuel doing that. And the altitude still looks fine as well, although I do want to go ahead and... do a little bit of outward again.
Translation. Rotation.
Actually, we're not ready for that yet.
Translation. Rotation.
Okay. So, actually, on second thought, I'm going to go ahead and trim that up a little bit. See, when you're way out here, you can change the orbit and approach and everything as much as you want. The minute you start to get close to the moon and the gravity starts to increase is the minute it starts to get hard.
Translation.
Actually, I overshot. So I'm going to go ahead and get the spot on. Right there.
Rotation.
Okay, and we're going to go to 100 times the normal rate. We're still far enough out from the moon that we might get significant orbital perturbations, so we may have to do another mid-course correction. Going to 1,000 times the normal rate. Oh, and we're going to go ahead and quick save here, because this is prime time for my computer to be a jerk. Good. Hardly any perturbations. Back to 100 times the normal rate. We now have to prepare for orbital insertion, and I will go ahead and pause the video while I access my reference sheet for the solar system. Okay. Magic reference sheet says that the moon circular orbital velocity just above the surface is 2,300... Oh, wait, no, that's escape. 1,680 meters per second. Well, I actually can't do that calculation right now. But if I look at the... 76. Okay, so it looks like about 65 seconds, so that would be 32 and a half in the world of acceleration. So we're going to go to 100 times the normal rate and get closer. That was just a crude estimation formula that I use, just to see what the time is that we're going to be dealing with. And we're actually going to be traveling right over Brighton Beach right now, so it's down there in the darkness. Okay, we're going to go to 10 times the normal rate. Yep, so just about 22 and a half seconds is what I get for the final number of burn time. So we're going to turn retrograde now. So 22 and a half seconds before the periapsis time is when we perform our retrograde burn. Just going between 10 and 0, or 10 and 1 to increase the time here. Okay, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40. Okay. We're going to hold retrograde now, prepare for the burn at 22 and a half seconds. 3, 2, 1, now. That's it. We're in circular lunar orbit, and I have so much fuel right now, I almost want to do a fuel dump. It's funny me saying that. Okay. So, our orbit did change a little bit, as expected, so we're going to go ahead and do another plane change burn when we cross the equator. So we're going to accelerate to 10 times the normal rate. And let's get this right. We're increasing inclination, which means we go orbit minus... Actually, no, we want to decrease inclination. So we go orbit plus. But this is the this is the descending node. Orbit plus. There we go. Now I won't actually waste fuel. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video until we actually get to time for it. Okay, it's just about time to do the burn now, so we're going to turn orbit plus. And all we should have to do is just tap this a little bit. Okay. That's it. I'm happy with that. So we're going to go ahead and revert. By the way, this is the far side of the moon. The part that if you haven't left Earth yet, you will never see. I think only about no more than 15 people have ever seen with their own eyes the far side of the moon. So anyway, we're now going to go to 10 times the normal rate. And we're going to prepare for landing. When we get in the exact opposite side of Brighton Beach, we're going to do a retrograde burn. But because I have the retro doors open, we're not going to turn retrograde for it. We'll only need a couple taps in order to do that. Oh, check out the Maria. Okay, time to do the burn. We're on prograde now. and we're going to retro burn until the Heirloom gets down to 10 kilometers, which is as low as I'm willing to consider safe, given the height of the lunar regoliths and mountains. We went too low, so I had to revert. Okay, so now all we have to do is wait, so I'm going to go to 10 times and 100 times the normal rate. We are passing into lunar night now. Oh yes, and let's go ahead and quick save. Okay, reverting to 10 times the normal rate, we're going to begin getting ready to land. So we're going to go to surface. Brighton Beach is up. And we need to go ahead and find it on the radios. So we're going to go to comm nav. And go spaceport, Brighton Beach. We're going to do pad 2 again. So that's going to be... well, actually, let's get the VOR first. 116.30. And the pad 132.30. Okay. Now we go to VOR VTOL. Yes, that's the proper one. And nav 1 is the beacon that we want. Okay, going back to 10 times normal rate. Now we should be all set now that all we have to do is burn retrograde, and we are, because I see the target. We are exactly facing the target. Well, when I say exactly, I mean just about. I mean, we could probably just slew if we had to that last, maybe a few hundred meters at most. Okay. Just giving more checks. We're going to turn the lights on now because we're approaching for landing. We're also going to have to open up the hover doors at some point and close the radiator for safety purposes. When we get down below 500 miles is where things start to get interesting. And I see it appears that our slowdown distance is 18 kilometers. So when we're 18 kilometers from the base is where we need to slow down. We're below 700 kilometers now. So we're going to have to address the surface now. We're going to go ahead and turn horizon level. We're also going to turn retrograde. And let's bring up the radios. Now again, we shouldn't really get it until we get into view, but for some reason, I think it's a bug or a limitation. We can, for some reason, get the radio VOR signal whenever we pass below 500 kilometers, which isn't realistic. You would not get it until you would not get the signal. There it is. Until you passed over the surface. Okay, so now what I've just done is turned exactly retrograde, so we're going to go ahead and well, I forgot the XR-2. See, this is why I don't like to use it for this kind of stuff. I forgot about the auto land feature. Wow. Forgot about that. Attitude, hold. Okay. So we'll go ahead and do that. We should be getting a signal any moment now. There is the signal, and we are facing just exactly the right direction that we need to be. So factoring in the altitude, when this says the distance is less than 20 kilometers is when we hit the brakes. Also, let's go ahead and set a descent rate of 100 meters per second initially. I don't expect to use that autopilot, but just in case. No, oh, yes. Okay, we need to start the auxiliary power unit now. And we need to open the hover doors. We have plenty of APU fuel that we can now leave the APU running. Right, we're cool now, but we're gonna have to go ahead and shut the radiator now, unfortunately. We'll leave the landing gear up for the time being. But just know that we have one, and we might run two autopilots now. Just so that it's known. See, it's a little bit tricky landing the XR-2 without an atmosphere, which is why I prefer the Delta Glider 4 to this. It would be great if the descent autopilot had an emergency override that if you got below a certain altitude, it would begin putting the rate down so that you wouldn't crash into the ground. But I don't think that is implemented. Let's
Warning, re-entry check failed.
retro doors and hover doors are supposed to be open. So we're all set for landing.
Information, APU fuel 80%.
That's fine, I don't care. Okay, Brighton Beach has come up over the horizon. We'll be hitting the brakes Any moment. Let us also put the landing gear down now.
Gear down. Gear down and locked.
Gonna have to be ready for this when it comes, as we're moving at 2 kilometers per second to start. And something has happened with our direction, so I need to fix that right now. We're quickly running out of time. Boom, right there. Facing directly against it. And, okay. So we hit the engines hard when we're 20 kilometers out. Just about any moment from now. 36, 35, 33, 31, 30, 28, 26, 24, 23, 21, now! Okay, something is really off with my math. I don't know what it is. Okay, I'm going to set the autopilot now to hover. This is kind of a bit frustrating that I get the math wrong twice. I know the same thing happened to me before. I don't understand why, because our fuel means that we are accelerating at 27 meters per second squared. And I did the physics math for 19 meters per second squared.
Translation. Rotation.
Thinking to myself, well, naturally that should leave enough room, but for some reason it didn't. And I need to figure out why that is. Alright, so I'm going to begin setting a rate. For now, I'm going to say that it can descend at 50 meters per second. Okay, let's see. Oh, that's not bad. We're actually not that far away. Well, yeah, we kind of are. Okay, so let's see what happened. Our acceleration is 22 meters per second squared. We were coming in at 1700-ish meters per second. Therefore, needing at 26, if you integrate it, 65 seconds to slow down squared times 0.5 times our acceleration of 26. Oh yeah, 55. Okay. So yeah, terrible math error. I figured out the problem. For some reason, I had done that nasty thing of cutting the thing in half, which or cutting the time in half, which only works for orbital maneuvers. You can't apply it to ground, which kind of sucks. Okay. Let's prepare to land at the pad.
$5,000.
Looking at our fuel situation, we still have plenty of fuel, which is good. We're going to begin slowing us down.
$4,000. 3,000.
I will admit that this descent autopilot actually does really help for
2,000.
Trying to get the set it to
You are
minus 30.
cleared to land.
Trying to handle the vertical aspect of landing. Okay, we're nearing the pad now.
1,000. 900. 800. 700.
Oh, bad. Sorry, I just had to restart the video. That was really bad timing for that.
600. 500.
Okay, let's bring this down more.
400. Translation.
Switch this over to translation and start worrying about that.
300. 200.
Okay, we're gonna go into hover now. This is the last step, so all we have to do is just make sure that we're centered, and then once we are, we can kill the autopilot and move down for ourselves. Oh dear. Shoot, that is messing with the autopilot. So the commands are unfortunately set to what the autopilot has. Okay, we are stopped above the pad. Let's go ahead and where is it? There it is. Disengage. And continue drifting down. Oh, this is going to take forever. We actually still have plenty of fuel, so we actually really didn't even need that bait tank, even with that mistake. So we're fine. This should still be engaged.
100.
I think I must have disengaged it when I was moving around with the speeds and things. Let's take
75. 50. 40. 30. 20. 15. 10. 8. 7. 6.
I love this purple and pink
5.
as we're coming down from the engines.
4.
Thrusting. That was a tram that just went by.
3. 2.
Okay, this will be contact velocity.
1. Touchdown. Lift off. Touchdown.
There is touchdown. Just turned off the engines here.
Wheel stop.
There we go. Press spacebar to disable the autopilot. Let's go ahead and disengage that annoying thing. There we are. And so now we can shut down our systems. But the first thing to do, can we connect the external cooling line?
Using external O2.
Yes, we can. So we're getting a little bit warm here.
External cooling online.
Okay. So what we've done is we've had our ship hooked up to the supplies at the center. I assume would have to, in order to simulate that, would have to be carrying oxygen and other things. Let's go ahead and shut the hover doors and the retro doors. Ooh, and we can actually depressurize. Let's open the nose cone. Let's turn our lights off. So that took 4 days, 11 hours.
Rotation off.
Okay, nose cone is open. So the only thing left to do now is to shut down the APU. So let's go ahead and open... Actually, okay, this is the real fun part. I'm going to demonstrate the use of the airlock now. The moon has no pressure. I mean it, no pressure. Look, 0.00. Well, if you're picky, it has maybe a nanopascal. But okay, so we're going to evacuate the airlock of air. So you will actually hear the air hissing as it is vacuumed. So doing that now.
Airlock depressurizing.
So all of the air is being sucked out of it as we speak.
Information. APU running.
Actually, there is a load. It's sucking the air out of here.
Airlock pressure 0 psi.
No one likes PSI. Okay. Then you see the red word under here that says vacuum. That means we can now open the door to the outside. And you can see we are not dying. But here is the surface of the moon. Nothing very exciting because it's night. We go ahead and shut down the APU. This has been it, and our craft is completely shut down. We're using the external supplies, and our door is open on the moon. So this has been, it's like tutorial 20, this might be 23 or 24, on XR-2 flying to the moon, and hopefully this has been fun for you, and you get to laugh at how rusty I am and how I can't seem to get the burn directions right. But I will see you guys next time for the XR-2 flight to Mars. And then I think I'm going to go into the Delta Glider 4 tutorials, and then after that we can start, after I'm finished with all of the tutorials, then we can begin going on excursion flights, not really landing anywhere, because that's kind of what Norsden Land to NISO is going to be doing when spaceflight gets invented finally. But I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.